So, welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling in New York show by Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping houses or wholesaling houses in New York, or if you have a business already, how to grow the business. Now, today's question is how long of an inspection contingency should I have on my contract in New York? And if you've never watched me before, you're really not going to like my answer because the answer is there are no inspection contingencies in New York. Now, if you've gotten your information from other sources on the internet, in the other 49 states, the inspection can get done after the contract. But in New York, it gets done before the contract. And every contract that I go into has no outs. I have to go in hard. I have to either assign the contract or close. And if you're starting out in this business, that can be scary, right? Because you were told by so many great people who really aren't trying to deceive you. They just have never done a deal in New York that there's no risk to wholesaling because you go into contract and you put a 30-day inspection contingency. And if you don't find a buyer, you just say goodbye. That's not how it works in New York, because in New York, the seller's attorney prepares the contract, and the seller's attorney is never going to prepare a contract that says that the buyer can just get out if they feel like it. And that's really what an inspection contingency says. So I sell a lot of properties, and as soon as we agree on a price, the buyers schedule an inspection. Inspection gets done, and if there's any repairs they want us to make, it goes as an addendum to the contract. But that always gets done before the contract's signed. So again, if this scares you, and if I had gotten my information from the internet and thought that I was going to wholesale, and it's just this completely easy, risk-free process that, I saw some guy who started wholesaling and 3 weeks later got a check for $12,000. That's not how it works. It's a simple process, but it's not easy. It takes a lot of work, and you need to be able to be sure. You need to be sure that a deal is a deal before you go into contract. And we're going to talk about investor-friendly title companies, and we're going to talk about deposit checks in the coming Facebook Lives. But you've got to understand that's just how it works in New York for everybody. And while there are 1 in a million deals are done without an attorney, and maybe you could put in some kind of contingency, if the seller asks anybody, they're going to tell them this is crazy because it's just not how it works in New York. So, and I'm not going to tell you that I haven't gotten into some bad deals. I have. I recently got out of a deal that wasn't great. And sometimes I can lose a deposit or I can lose money on a deal. It happens. But you obviously your first deal, you're going to need to speak to people, be sure that this is a deal. And we all think, oh, we're going to know this is a deal, right? Like some guy is going to call me and he's going to ask me and he's going to tell me he needs to sell in 5 minutes and I'm going to offer $100,000 for a $400,000 house. It's obviously a deal. That's not usually the case. What usually is the case is that it's tight. It's not simple. And you need to do the math and comp things out, right? And the only two ways that work to comp things out in New York is having access to the multiple listing service. So get yourself licensed or get access to somebody who has credentials to multiple listing service. Or at the second best, really 1A is PropStream. And I can get your PropStream at a discount. I think I'm the only person that can. But those are the only ways that you can really comp out a deal. But more likely, what's going to happen is you're going to want to call someone who does deals in New York. Now, my area really is Long Island. If you have deals elsewhere, I can help you. But you need to know if a deal is a deal. And very often, a deal is not a deal. And the the attitude that some people have who are starting this business, who watched a podcast from somebody who's being honest and truthful, but what he's being honest and truthful about works for 49 states, doesn't work for New York, and thinking, well, who cares? I go into contract, maybe I'll make a few $1,000s because there's no risk because I'm going to put an inspection contingency on there. It's just not how it works in New York. No inspection contingencies in New York. Now, standard retail deals will have a mortgage contingency, and I sell a lot of deals retail, and I know that really is a get out of contract free card because you can always call your mortgage guy and say, just deny me. But and I know that because I was in the mortgage business for 17 years. But it takes more work in advance. You have to really see if a deal is a deal and be sure that you're going to be able to either A, assign it, or B, close on it and do the work to it or sell it retail, whatever it takes. So that's how it works in New York. I'm sorry if this wasn't the answer you were looking for, but it's the God's honest truth. There are no inspection contingencies in New York. Inspections get done before the contract in New York. You don't really have any outs. The only out you really have in New York, if you go in with a mortgage contingency, that's an easy out. But most people, as an investor, they're going to expect you to be a cash buyer, which means no mortgage contingency. That's all cash buyer means, by the way. It means you have no mortgage contingency. And the only real out is if there's a title issue. So some lien shows up, or the guy doesn't really own it, something crazy. If the guy can't convey clean title to you, or maybe a problem, building permit problem, something like that, you can argue that that's not clean title. But those are the only outs. There are no inspection contingencies in New York. I'm sorry, but that's just not how it works in New York. Now, please like these videos if you're watching them. If you're watching it on YouTube, please subscribe, and go to howtoflipnewyork.com for more information about how I can help you, because I definitely want to help you. My phone number is below. You can call my office if you don't believe I'm real. I return calls, sometimes not right away, but soon. And I'm here to help answer any of your questions you have. If you're watching on Facebook, above, there's going to be 7 ways that I can help you. And below on YouTube, there's going to be those same 7 ways. So please like, subscribe, comment. If you have any requests for any Facebook Lives or videos you want me to do, put in a comment, and I respond to comments very quickly, and I'll take requests. But this is a question I get between 1 and 5 times a week about inspection contingencies, and it just doesn't apply in New York, because inspections in New York get done before the contract and not after. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I gotta hit the finish button. There it is.